Hi guys, in this video I'm going to be talking about Sea to Summit's TR2 Alto tent. Now this is an ultralight tent that they sent me to review and I have just spent a week cycle touring in Brittany and France and I've been camping with it for 7 nights I suppose. And they sent it to me just a couple of weeks before I left, and my previous tent option before that was significant. It was a really light tent, but it was significantly heavier than this one. So when I got this through the mail and like just picked it up, it was instantly, it's comically light, okay? So in this video I'm just going to be telling you a quick bit about it and how I found it while I was camping and cycle touring. And I've also got a video of me putting it up so that you can see just how fast and easy it is, because honestly it's ludicrous and I've put up a lot of tents in my time. So this is what it looks like when it's all wrapped up. It actually has, like, it looks really floppy because it's in 2 bits. It actually has like a plastic semi-cylinder that the poles go in, and that slides in between here and makes that like quite a solid unit. Because we've only just got back and like we've half unpacked and the house is a mess and I don't actually know where the poles are because my partner has apparently like half tidied. But anyway, so they go in there and they're fully protected by this plastic like semi-cylinder, which also acts as a kind of light that you can put inside the tent if you put your head torch into it, and it kind of goes up there and you can have it as a tent, which I didn't use because it's the middle of June, so like I was literally going to bed before it was dark by a long shot. Anyway, so what I really loved about this for cycle touring specifically is not only is it ludicrously light, like it's 1.1 kilos I think, maybe 1150 grams, something like that. What I really love is that these 2 bits, so this is the fly sheet and this is the inner, they separate and they're just clipped in just like that on both sides. So you can unclip them and then you have separate things. Like, I mean, I want you to, like, I wish I could show you how light it is. It's so stupid, like how light this is. And it's just amazing. I'm never going back now. I have literally only just like repacked this one and I did it in a rush because it was out on the line outside. So normally like it goes actually down a lot smaller than this. So yeah, I mean, it's light, and if you don't have the instructions on you and you can't remember how to do it or whatever, it's your first time, then it has the instructions on the back as well. But it's so easy to put up. So obviously the benefits of that are that you can split them up between 2 people if you're cycle touring with somebody else. And as you can split them up, you can also obviously pack your panniers a bit more easily than if they were just some long thing. So we didn't strap ours on like the back of our rack, on the top of our racks or anything. I had one practice go putting this up in the garden a couple of days before we went, because we were going to arrive in France off the ferry and at the campsite like 9 o'clock, and I didn't want to be, you know, wrestling with a brand new tent at that time of night after having done a 5.5 hour ferry crossing. So I put it up in the garden first and I, you know, read through the instructions, and it still only took me, I don't know, less than 10 minutes to put up in my very tiny garden. So that was a win. And then when we got to the campsite on the first night, like, it's just so easy. There's nothing to remember. It's just so easy. And especially as all the poles, as you'll see like later, all the poles are already attached to each other. So you don't have to like work out which pole goes where or anything like that. Like you just slip them all together. And then it's extremely obvious where they go in the inner tent. So it's super lightweight and it's super fast to put up. With one person, you do not need 2 people for this. And it's so fast to put up, like 2 people won't even really speed it up. You can put it up in different ways as well. So I only put it up in one way because I'm lazy. I put up the inner tent first and then the fly sheet over the top, and it was beautiful weather the entire week in France, so that was fine. You can also put it up fly sheet first and then put the inner in afterwards, which obviously would be your preference if it was raining or something. And when you get the tent, it comes with like a little booklet of different ways you can put it up, and it's not just putting it up inner or outer first. You can also turn it into a shelter if you need shelter during the day or whatever. Now, as you can imagine, from an ultra light tent, it fits 2 people in it, sure, but so it will exactly fit 2 sleeping mats inside. There was a little bit of room for me to put, say, some clothes and my handlebar bag at my feet, but that's because I'm 5'4" on a good day. But my partner, who is 6'2", like there's no room for anything of his inside the tent whatsoever, apart from him, a sleeping mat and a sleeping bag. So it's very narrow, and it's perfect really for 2 people who are ultralight camping. But if you have a lot of stuff that you want to put in the tent, it's going to be very small. And it doesn't really have porches per se. However, the outer tent does go out at the sides ever so slightly. So I managed to get in 2 full-size Ortlieb panniers onto my side. And then on my partner's side, he put his bike trailer inside that section there and the bag that goes in there, which is quite big. So, you know, they were touching the sides quite a lot of the time, although they're all waterproof, but there is very little room inside. You can get a backpack in there for sure, and your shoes and things like that, but you can't sit in a porch. So if that's something that you're looking for, then this might not be the tent for you. However, if you're literally going to rock up, put your tent up and then go to sleep, or it's in, you know, beautiful weather so you don't need to sit indoors at all, then it's absolutely amazing. There's also a really clever venting system, which is really hard to describe, so maybe you'll see it in the video instead. But it allows airflow pretty well throughout the entire tent. We actually only really realised this on the last day. So we had a massive condensation problem, which again, I'm 90% sure is user error rather than the tent itself. Although every single other person in the campsite also had massive condensation issues as well. We were all like madly drying our tents in the morning just because it was so wet on the inside. However, this tent actually does have like a through flow sort of situation where basically the tent is symmetrical, so you can access it on both sides of it, which is great because you don't have to climb over the other person to get out. But on each side, each entrance there, the zips go both ways. So you can have it zipped up at the bottom and the top, but open it in between. And this allows air to travel through without, you know, opening the tent. It allows air to travel through that gap and then out the sort of quite large vent at the top. So that's incredibly difficult to describe, but I'm sure Siege Summit have something on their website about it too. But that creates a lot more airflow through it and would probably massively reduce the condensation. The only downside that I thought that there would be with it when I put it up in the garden was the pegs, and I'll show you why. So they come in this little pouch and the guy ropes come in here, which I never had to use. These pegs, the pouch can be slipped into either one, the fly sheet or the inner bag, really easily. So the pegs are ludicrously, like almost comically light. I can't even, it's just ridiculous how light all of this stuff is. Also though, I feel like you could kill a man with that. I mean, that's not the problem. They are, again, like, it's so hard to show you how light they are, it's ridiculous. However, you'll see that like there's nothing on top. So when you put it into the ground, like you cannot use your hand to push that down because, I mean, it would really, really hurt. They do have this little string here, which I assume is for doing that. So you can put your hand in it and pull it down using that string. I still found that a little bit painful on the hand. So I used the sole of my shoe to do it pretty much most of the time, especially in harder ground. If the ground was really soft, then I could use this no problem, and these are really good for pulling them out as well. It is a little bit on the sharper side, so you might want to be mindful of that. And like, obviously if you're cycle touring, you're not going to carry any kind of mallet with you. So the only thing I used was the sole of my shoe. I wouldn't do it in flip-flops, and standing on them in flip-flops, I can reliably tell you, is painful. So don't stand on the pegs, which is just sensible. But yeah, be mindful that you do need a sort of solid, more solid surface to push them into the ground if it's harder ground. These little notches on the back, so it goes in like that, so you can put the outer and the inner, obviously, you can like loop them and their own cord will hook onto those like that. So that's really cool. But the pegs, which normally obviously weigh a ton with any tent, they don't weigh anything. Like, it's stupid how I just don't understand. Like, I guess it's titanium or something, but it is so light. So really, I have nothing bad to say about this tent. I am shocked at how light it is, and my God, my panniers were so heavy with all the extra clothes I took and didn't need, that I was so thankful that we weren't carrying a really heavy tent. So that was amazing. And for cycle touring, it was absolutely perfect because it was super fast to put up, and in fact it was super fast to take down. The only like weird thing about taking it down is that the fly sheet is the fabric. It is so slippery in your hands, like it's just very strange. But when you are folding it back up again, and you can fold it up any way, like I have folded it up a different way every single time because I can never remember how I did it last time, and it's always gone in the bag. I mean, I kind of wonder if you could like use it as a stuff sack, like a sleeping bag, and stuff it in, but I'm not going to do that. It's very, very easy to fold up and fit back in the bag, like any which way you do it. You don't have to do it a special way like every single other tent I've ever owned. But the fabric is really slippery, so when you roll it up and then you're trying to get it into its bag again, like you have to, like I was sandwiching it between my legs to like push it in because it would just like slide out. But no, it's really fast to take down, really. It's so fast. You can do it with one person, so the other person is, you know, lighting the stove and making coffee, which is very important for cycle touring. It fits 2 people in, you know, really, really well. It fits 2 sleeping mats in absolutely perfectly, and if you're short like me, or perfectly sized, you can fit some stuff at the bottom too. You can fit like a backpack or some panniers in each of the porches, but it's not a huge area. The only one thing that I would say aside from all of that is that the ground sheet section of the inner is very, very thin, and obviously it has to be to maintain its super lightweightness. I wasn't bothered about that from a comfort point of view because obviously I have my sleeping mat. However, I was just afraid for the fabric, and it doesn't seem like fragile fabric at all, but I mean, I don't want to break this tent because it's so cool, like I want to keep it forever. So we took we had a bit of tarp in our garage, which coincidentally was the exact same footprint as this tent. So we just took that, and obviously that weighs a lot, not a lot, but you know, it weighs, and it's what, polyprop or whatever it is, and that takes up quite a lot of space in the pannier because we had to fold it, and it doesn't fold down very small. However, I put that down every single time just to protect the bottom of the tent. So you can do away with that if you want, or perhaps you'd want to take that extra kind of ground sheet with you, but that's the only thing. It's not a downside, it's just a requirement of an ultralight tent. That's something that you need to take into account. So without a doubt, I can 100% recommend this tent for cycle touring. I can't imagine how it could possibly be improved. Like I just can't. So I was just editing this video and realised that I had actually forgotten to talk about what is one of the most important things, the price of this tent. But also it's the next day and my hay fever is really bad, so that's why I sound a little bit different. Okay, so the TR2 Alto Sea to Summit tent is around £430 new, and that is obviously a significant amount of money. So you really have to weigh up whether spending that kind of money on a tent that you might not use that often, depending on who you are and what you do, if it's worth it. From my point of view, like obviously Sea to Summit sent this tent to me for free, so that was a pretty easy decision for me. But from my point of view, comfort is worth paying for. And while sleeping in an ultralight tent isn't necessarily going to be any more comfortable than any other tent, how comfortable it is on the bike when you're cycle touring is pretty crucial. I don't have too much of a problem spending money on something that is going to last me a really long amount of time, like years and years and years, decades even, if it's gonna be great. This is why I have a Robins tent, which weighs about 10 kilos, and it's kind of like one of these like teepee tents, and I spent quite a considerable amount of money on it a couple of years ago because I absolutely love it, and I only use it for camping if maybe 1 to 2 weeks per year. But I have zero regrets buying that tent because it is just fantastic. It's so spacious and it breathes and it's just amazing. Obviously though, this is a really expensive tent and there are much cheaper options out there, and you're only looking at an extra sort of like 400, 500 grams even. So places like Alpkit, for instance, are a really good example. I looked at their Tetri tent first, and it's much larger and it is heavier. Like, it's the size of it that really put me off, but it was, like when I got the Sea to Summit tent, the Tetri was comically heavier, but still it's quite a light tent. But also, that's only £99, so if you have the capacity to take on more weight and more size with you on your cycle tours, then obviously you can go for a much cheaper tent. So really when it comes to price, obviously I can't recommend that because it completely depends on how much money you have and how much money you want to spend on tent. Anyway, enough of me talking and enough of hay fever, so here's the video of me putting it up.